Ladies and gentlemen, do you know where I am right now? This is MGM Springfield, everyone. I'm back home in Boston, the Northeast, for a little bit. I got the itch to play some poker, and there's a 1025 game that runs by a good friend of mine, so we're gonna play in it. So we're gonna walk in right here. It's been a while since I've been here. I just have to preface, big thank you to the MGM Springfield people for letting me film. Not really letting me film, but letting me post this, and not letting me take down this video. That's what matters. Anyways, we're gonna hop in there and play. I heard that it's gonna be a tougher game than normal, so I'm ready to battle out with some good players. We are currently, real time right now, amidst a crypto crash. So I need to find some more bags of money. Hopefully I can come out with some of this today. But yeah, I don't know. Crypto crash is rough. It affects me for sure and everyone in poker. But besides that, let's go play some cards. It'll be fun. Always love playing here. Always love the people here at MGM Springfield. So let's go play some cards.
The game is 10, 25, 50. I buy in for a decent chunk of $30,000, and let's get into this first hand here with Ace King offsuit. I'm in +1 and open things up to $150. I get two players to make the call and then action onto the button, who 3-bets to 725. Me and this opponent have plenty of history together, and my opponent's playing about 9,000 effective. So we're starting off hot with a 4-bet here. Let's pump some more money in with a good hand. I 4-bet to 2,100. Action folds around to the button player and he makes the calls. So with over $4,000 in the middle, the flop comes Jack, 7, 5, 2 spades. Here, definitely a decision point to bet or check, and as the 4-better, certainly should have some range advantage, so I start off with a bet of 1,300. Don't think I have to size too big. It's pretty easy to get it all in if I wanted to, but when my opponent makes the call here, not loving it with my exact hand, we're off to a turn which comes a 7. This is essentially a blank in a 4-bet pot, and I'm considering my options here, whether I want to go for it here, represent aces, represent kings, and ultimately here, I'm thinking I just want to slow down. I give up essentially and check here on the turn, and when my opponent checks it back, very interesting and suspect as to what he could have, maybe pocket 10s, pocket 9s, or maybe just a jack. We're off to a river now, which comes a queen. Here, just with ace king, definitely could be incentivized to barrel, but I don't think my opponent is going to be able to fold a whole lot of the hands that will show down this way. So I check, he checks it back with pocket kings. All right, I'll lose this one, but nice to make the right decisions against my opponent's holding. He certainly was never going to full turn or river, and I guess I ran into kings this first hand, not starting off the right way. In the following spot, I pick up 10s here in the low jack, and there's an undergun open to 150. Definitely mixed between raising or calling, and I obviously decide on the aggressive route. I 3-bet to $600, and then the player to my left 4-bets to $1,400. Plenty of action here today, and action folds around to me. Looking at my opponent, he has a similar size stack of over $30,000 and potentially just covers me. Thinking that he could probably be doing this with overpairs, maybe ace, king, pocket 10s. Not in the best situation in the world, but considering we're so deep, I make the call. Going to a flop of king, 8, deuce, 2 clubs, it's definitely not the best flop in the world. I start off with a check, and my opponent bets 750. King high flop certainly is going to favor the 4-better here, and considering this is a really small price, almost priced in enough to potentially maybe set mine. If I see a 10 on the turn, that would be miraculous, but I'm not going to throw my cards away yet. I call for 750, and we see the turn, which is the jack of spades, which is so close. So close to being a 10, but nevertheless, I check. And on this turn card, my opponent checks back, which is very interesting. Now to the river, which comes the 7 of diamonds here. I just obviously don't have much of a choice besides checking. And I don't think I'm going to win this pot very often. And when my opponent bets 2,400, I think I got to let this one go. I got to say nice hand to my opponent, who later told me he had aces here. So yeah, that's a pretty good holding. Taking some L's in the early going of the session, but hoping to climb out of the hole here and rebound, where we pick up 8, 9 of clubs in the small blind. There's a cutoff raise to 175 button, myself, and the straddler call. So multi-way to a flop we go of 5, 4, deuce, 2 clubs. Action checks around to the pre-flop aggressor in the cutoff, and he bets 325. When the button makes the call, I'm certainly not going anywhere. Potentially could raise at some frequency, but I don't have a good flush draw, and I'm happy to just see a turn out of position. Turn comes a 6, which gives me a combo draw now. Definitely debated on leading out at some frequency, but action's going to check around. Now seeing a free river, which is the 5 of clubs with a flush. Pretty sick to see now, expecting my hand to be good a lot of the time, and I want to get some value, so I bet out 450. To my surprise, the cutoff raises to 2,000. The button folds, and now I immediately don't love this action. I mean, what am I going to do? It just seems like I can't win today. I don't expect my opponent to be playing over pairs like this. He would only be repping a flush, I guess. Certainly sometimes can have a full house, but doesn't seem very likely given the actions. So I just let my 9 high flush go. I don't think my opponent's bluffing. Don't think he's overplaying an overpair. And yeah, nice hand to my opponent. I fold the flush, and he shows me the queen of diamonds, saying he had pocket queens. Oh man, I'm bad at this game, aren't I? If you ever just want to fold me off a flush, just raise me, and I guess I'm gonna let it go that easily. Yeah, this one feels bad. Seems like I'm just making all the wrong moves today, but I guess that's how poker goes sometimes. It's not my day. All right, now I'm in immediate help of turning things around. I have 7 deuce offsuit on the button. We're playing the 7 deuce game, so $100 bounty from everyone. When the ungun player opens it up to 150, certainly incentivized to play this, of course. I decided to just make the call here on the button as I'm playing in position and versus a potentially narrow open. Everyone else folds, so heads up to a flop of 9-8-3 all hearts. Here, my opponent checks, and I recheck my cards. Sitting with the deuce of hearts, well, certainly good enough for me to bet. So I size to 125, hoping to just take this down right now. But when my opponent makes the call, we're going to see a turn which comes a 7. He checks again for a second time, and I have a decision to make here because it's very interesting. I end up with a pair, and this board favors me a lot. And I have a decision to either bet or check. I think in normal circumstances, checking makes the most sense, but because of the ante and bounty game we're playing, I just want to win the pot right now. So I decided to bet $325. This is kind of a mix of for value and a mix as a bluff to a certain degree. And when my opponent makes the call for $325, I'm sure my hand isn't good just yet. But we're off to a river, which comes a heart. All right, I have a flush. Is it the worst flush in the world? Potentially. My opponent checks, and let's hope my deuce high flush wins. I check this one back, and he shows aces. No heart in his hand, and wow, I crack aces in a pretty tilting fashion to my opponent. I win the pot and an extra $800 around for the bounty as well. So I guess I finally won a hand. All it took was 7 deuce offsuit. In the next decision point, okay guys, everyone strap in your seatbelt. Let's get into this one, and also hit the like button because I appreciate that. I have ace 8 of hearts on the button. There's an ungun open to 150. 2 players make the call to me here, and I think this is a pretty good time to squeeze in position. I have an ace, which blocks some strong holdings, and I think taking this hand multi-way isn't the best idea. So trying to give myself the best chance to win, I 3-bet to $900 here. And when the ungun player ends up folding, expecting to just take it down pre-flop all the time, but the other 2 players who calls my 3-bets. Pretty weird spot to be in. I can't put them on a very strong holding, but we're going multi-way to a flop, which comes 10-4 deuce rainbow. Action checks to me here, and on a very dry board, I am going to go for a bet. I think I can put any 10 into a pretty tough spot moving forward, and when I bet $800 here, I get the hijack player to make the call, so I'm not going to win the pot right away. Looks like I'm going to run into some resistance. Other player folds, and now we're going heads up to a turn, which is the king of spades. Brings in a backdoor flush draw, and it's overall a very, very good card for me. My opponent checks again, and I'm putting my opponent on some sort of 10 or smaller pocket pair. Certainly could have 9s, 8s, 7s, 6s, going set mining and seeing a dry board, but I'm going to set up a river shove when I size up here to 3,200. I think I'm going to be betting this with all of my strong hands and, of course, all of my weak hands like this. Anyways, my opponent tanks and ends up making the call, and I am getting the idea and suspicions that my opponent isn't going to be super strong. I guess he could have pocket tens, he could have fours, he could have deuces. But outside of that, I just can't imagine him to be super strong, especially when he tank calls. Now, we're going to the river, which comes the 5 of diamonds. And when my opponent checks for a third time, I mean, look, I've arrived up to this point. I'm putting on some sort of pocket pair, and if it's fours or deuces, I'm going to get snapped. But anything else, I think, in his range, I think I can get to fold. It's really ambitious to think that my opponent is going to have a king, because I guess he could have king 10, but that's very unlikely. So I'm not going to give up, and I put 20,000 chips in there, basically announcing an all-in for my opponent. And from my perspective, my opponent has about $7,000 to $8,000 behind. And some backstory about my opponent here. He's actually my good friend Zach, whom we've had lots and lots of history with. He's one of the first people who taught me how to play poker and kind of gave me some tips along the way while playing at this specific casino at 1-2. And now, roles are reversed. I'm putting my friend into a tough spot, and he takes a long time here before arriving to a decision point. I mean, while he's thinking, does he really have a 10? Like I said, the only 10 he could have that would hold on is king 10, and that would be an easy call, of course. But ultimately, he says out loud, he has to see it. Crap! He sticks in a call. I tell him he's good, and he has pocket jacks. Not the holding I expected to see from him, an overpair to the flop, and I double up his $9,415 stack. Nice hand to my buddy Zach. He makes a very, very nice call and will probably win one of the biggest pots of the night by far. And the day after, my friend Zach texted me that this pot helped him pay for his college class bill. So happy to help anytime, buddy. I mean, you certainly deserve it by playing your hand really well. And I guess I paid for all that teaching early on in the 1-2 days. Anyways, in real time here, it's time to reload for a bit more, and I gotta hope to play another big one because now I am down an incredible hole. Let's move on. Moving on with a suited connector. These are always fun to play. 8-7 of hearts in the small blind. There's a hijack raised to 150. Cutoff makes the call. Button makes the call. And once again, this is a spot that squeezing is calling my name. Definitely going to size up pretty big here out of position. I mean, maybe I'm doing this because I'm down a bunch and I got to make these pots bigger, but I don't know. I make it $1,050 to go, and surprisingly, the player to my left in the big blind makes the call. So there goes all of my chances of trying to win this pot pre-flop. Little annoying, but when the hijack ends up folding, once again, the cutoff and button make the call as well. So we're going 4 ways to this flop. Going to a flop which comes queen 5 deuce, 2 spades and a heart. Just nothing really going right for me today at all. I'm breaking everything, and I start off with just a check. The big blind bets $850 and action folds to me. Oh man, this is really, really annoying. I'm out of position. I have 8 high. I mean, I'm given an insane price to peel one, and we're both playing about $30,000 in front, so I guess it would be really, really bad to call. It seems really, really bad to fold. I peel one because we got to gamble. I make the call hoping to see a card that gives me a draw. Turn is the deuce of spades. Nope, that one isn't it. I check to my opponent and he bets 1,400. Okay, I guess I will snap fold, saying he had black pocket jacks. With that said, I cannot win a hand tonight. I'm losing all the big ones, and I guess I won the 7 deuce hand. That's about it. Going with a theme of suited connectors here, I have 5-6 of spades on the button. There's a cutoff raise to 125. I am going to be in blast-off mode here. I 3-bet to $500 here, as I like to enter the pot as the aggressor, and the cutoff makes the call. So we're going to a flop of 10-7 for all clubs. Very unfortunate, as this is the wrong black cards dealer, but I'm still open-ended with a draw. My opponent checks, and I bet small for $250, hoping he just doesn't have a club here, but he makes the call for $250. And we're off to a turn which comes the 3 of clubs. Would have been really cool if I had 5-6 of clubs, but 5-6 of spades we go. My opponent checks here, and I don't really see any merit to betting here with a straight on a 4-liner to a flush. I check this one back. Now to the river, which comes a king, and he bets out $850. Another annoying spot to be in. It's just such a small price to bluff catch. I mean, is anyone even bluff catching here in this spot? I'm frustrated. I'm feeling like I haven't won a hand all night. I'm curious, tilted, all of the things that will lead me to being a call station. So flick in some chips, and he shows king 9 of clubs. Flopping the flush, that's cool. I guess the turn saved me from losing a bigger pot, but there was really no need to light $850 on fire. I'm just bad at this game, so if any people with a home game out there, hit me up, because I will just torch money like I am right now. For one of the last interesting hands of the night, I pick up a good hand, a premium, pocket queens in the big blind. Finally, let's crawl out of the hole. Action folds to the button player, who opens it up to 150. Small blind folds, and I 3-bet to $750 here, and I'm praying for some action, and luckily my button player makes the call. Off to a flop of 10-10-7 rainbow. Okay, this is an interesting board here, as I have an overpair, but not many 10s. I start off with a small bet of $500. I don't know what I'm really going to get called by, besides a very curious ace high or potentially some other pocket pairs. But for 500, he does make the call, so we're going to a turn which comes in 8. Now the board texture is in such a way where I don't think it's going to favor me a lot here, and with queens, I think I just want to check this one and see what happens, especially being out of position. And when my opponent checks this one back, I think my hand's the winner here all the time, as I expect any straights, any 10 would have bets. Now we're going to a river, which comes a deuce, complete brick, and I look at my opponent's stack with about 4,000 behind. And considering he checked back on the turn, I don't think he has much. Let's put all of his bluff catchers into a tough spot. I go for it all and put them all in, and he snap calls with 10s. Oh my goodness. Just my kind of night. I pay him 4,000, call it an L. It has been a very, very unfortunate and tough day of poker and cards for me. And this is how you get wrecked. Losing basically every big hand you get involved with, and icing on the cake, running into quads to double up an opponent.
What an unfortunate night. Played for 5-6 hours, 7 hours, 7-8 hours. Oh my god, I played for a while. 7 to 8 hours. I was in the game for 60,000. Out of it for 34, 5, 10. Granted, I really thought I lost more, so maybe it doesn't feel as bad right now in the current moment. But yeah, like, I mean, I just lost every hand that I entered. Every pot I entered, essentially, I just lost. Any big hand I ever had, nothing happened. And I guess that's what happens, you know? And the end of the night, you know, feeling like you're gonna rebound and maybe book a smaller loss, snap queens into quads. It's just what happened. I mean, I'm just playing not great. I think, I folded the flush, which was the best hand. So that was silly of me. Then I bluffed off. But kudos to my buddy who made the call. It's just silly. These swings are big, but it happens, especially with the way I play, I guess. But, you know, definitely not happy about the situation, but it happens. That's all I gotta say. So thanks for tuning into these cash games. The swings will be as what they are, just with a few more zeros with it. Same swings as 2-5, just with like 3 more zeros. So it happens. I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you to MGM for not taking this video down, because I am not supposed to be filming this. Oh well. See you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the love. Peace.